you guys talk about? Come up.
I guess I don't have a lot of experience meditating, but I've never heard before it's okay to fail and then start again and fail, and sort of what failing means within meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of interesting.
Great. Anything else?
Talking about how this would be a good, I worked with middle schoolers last year, and this is a good way to present it to middle schoolers or high school students who may feel like, what is this crazy thing? It's a really straightforward way of presenting it in a way that doesn't seem intimidating, but is pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
The language is funny. I mean, it was a funny juxtaposition between the guy's voice and the animated character, and it was just very funny. I mean, I wanted to laugh the whole time, which is funny. And again, the whole, like, if you're failing at it, it means you're doing your job and you're trying to be mindful, and I think that's affirming, and that would make me want to try again.
Yeah. So a point of clarification that sometimes comes up as a question, what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? I don't know if anyone was sort of wondering about that. The way that I explain it is meditation is the practice of mindfulness. So we can practice being mindful through meditation. Meditation can be a sensitive word, and I think it's like very loaded. There are a lot of connotations about it, and we can stick with the language of mindfulness exercises and strategies, and it's the same thing. It just doesn't carry the same weight and baggage that meditation does. So you can decide if it's something you want to use, how you want to talk about it. I did a whole summer, and we called it brain training. And again, we're not trying to hide anything by calling it different, but I think we're referring to the same thing, it just has less of the baggage that goes along with it. All right, so what can I be mindful of? Lots of things, everything, really. When we start a mindfulness practice, we think about, what do I want to anchor my attention to? And if you are following along in the notes, there's just a spot for you to jot some ideas down on the second page about what is mindfulness. You can pull that out. So we can anchor our thoughts to our senses. Touch, what we smell, what we taste, what we hear, and even what we see. Those can all be anchors for our focus. And then when the mind wanders, as the video talked about, we bring it back to whatever that sense is. We can also look at the interior of the body, so what's happening inside? What's my heart rate right now? What are my lungs doing? What's my breathing? What emotion am I feeling? So really getting in touch with, what does that physically feel like in my body when I'm angry? We also have mental activities, which is the seventh sense down here. So what are my thoughts doing? Right? Do I even notice all the subconscious swirling that's happening all day long? That has a really big impact on how I filter the world coming in. So when I slow down, what am I actually thinking? And then finally, this piece of interconnectedness. So how am I relating to other people? Where is my place in my community? Where is my place considering on a larger scale? So you have lots of different places that I intend to focus my attention. This is an illustration that I borrowed from my friend Sarah Riddell Beach, who does mindfulness training out of Minnesota. And I really like it. It's that same cyclical nature. We set an intention to focus on one of those anchors we just discussed. The mind will wander. And then once we realize it, we come back to that anchor. And that's what the practice is. Set our mind somewhere, mind wanders, come back. And the more we bring our minds back, the stronger our ability to leave our minds in one place, the place where we want it, becomes. So that's the point of the practice. So we're going to try it. We're going to start really easy, and this is the first exercise I always do with students. I'm going to ring this bell, and when you can't hear the sound anymore, raise your hand. Okay? End of sound, raise hand. Let's try it. one more time. And we're going to do it with our eyes closed, or if that's uncomfortable for you, you can just bring the gaze down to the left. Okay? Open the eyes if they were closed. So for how many people was that a pleasant experience? You just raise your hand. Okay. How many people was it an unpleasant experience? Okay, usually there's like at least one person who is not into it. It's really important when we're working with students to normalize everything. So the intention is actually not to have a pleasant experience. The intention is to notice whatever is happening at any given moment. When we're focusing. For how many people did they notice a thought come in and they were able to bring their mind back to the sound? They went through the whole cycle. Okay. And so, how many people felt like they were really there with their minds for that entire time with the bell? Yeah, hands down. So this is a great place to start because it gives students a sense of what it is like. There's sort of a challenge element to it of trying to hear to the end of the sound. We're going to try sort of a next level activity where we listen to sound and we're not going to anchor on the bell. We're just going to take in sounds from this room, maybe even some will come in from outside of this room. So just noticing what comes up, and rather than trying to make up a story about that thing or like figure out what it is, can we let go of that desire to think and come back to listening first to the sounds, okay? And again, it's not forcing the thoughts away, it's not stopping them, it's letting it go and coming back to our focus. We're gonna do it for about a minute, and I'm gonna have everyone sit up. So go ahead and bring the spine long, maybe bring 2 feet to the ground. That just helps us stay alert, stay awake afternoon time. And you can close the eyes again, or you can bring the gaze to the lap if that's uncomfortable. So I'll ring the bell to start. We'll sit for a minute, and then I'll ring to finish it. Stand up and find one other person from a different table and tell them what happened for you. What was that experience like? Easy, hard, comfortable, uncomfortable? What happened? So one person from another table. What was that like? What did you notice came up? Anything similar or different between you and your partner?
My mind wandered, his didn't.
Yeah, I spoke with Victor over there who just arrived, and he's been practicing mindfulness for years, and so he's like, oh yeah, I just walked in and I was completely relaxed, like completely attentive to the moment. And I said, wow, that's practice makes perfect then, because that wasn't exactly my experience.
Yes, and I've been practicing for about 10 years. In true confession, I forgot what activity we were doing in the middle of it. So,
That was brave.
point being, it's a practice, lifelong practice. What else?
We both kind of talked about how we use like our breath to like focus on and I kind of like count because it helps the thoughts like not. But then we noticed we both heard the clock ticking, and we were kind of like syncing our breaths with the clock ticking, and she said it was like too fast, and so having to like recenter and like just have that sound and not have it like be part of our like breathing.
Yeah, and it's interesting what our minds do when we set it to a task, right? Like, it sounds like your mind was sort of like, well, I'm not focused right now on the thing I should be doing, so I need to use my breath and this counting thing, and now there's some judgment in there, so it picked up an activity to help keep you doing the thing that was the task at hand.
I don't really feel like I don't feel like I was judged. I don't think
Okay.
there was judgment. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it just
not.
sounded that way when I explained it, but it didn't feel in the moment. It didn't feel. I just kind of was like, oh, okay. Like I need to come back.
Yeah, to the breath. Okay. Sure.
I have a hard time, I always think about what the process of, like, what it is I'm supposed to be doing, and then I'll notice those thoughts and kind of like get stuck in this loop of like noticing myself noticing, and I don't really know how to get outside of that.
Yeah. Part of it comes with practice, and the more we practice, okay, if I can't let go of those thoughts, can I let go of the thoughts that come after the thoughts, or what is the point where I can come back from, and just continuing to practice that. Yeah, but it's a great point. All right. So again, when we do these practices with students, normalizing everything, and like really recognizing all the things that are just sort of a part of being human is really important. So maybe it was unpleasant for them, maybe it was unpleasant for them. All those things are fine. Maybe they had particular thoughts come up, maybe they didn't. Again, whatever their experience was, they're taking 1 minute of their day to notice. The rest of our day, we're busy, really busy doing and learning and taking in, right? What's happening internally? Well, that's 1 minute where I can see, because I'm trying to, right? What's happening in there? So this is a movement that's happening in a lot of different places, and I just wanted to touch on this for a minute, because when we talk with students about mindfulness, it's helpful to give them some broader context, particularly as you're getting into middle school and high school years, figuring out what's important to them, and then looking at, is there an aspect of society that's sort of embodying that? If we look into sports, there are a lot of sports teams right now who are actually using mindfulness and meditation as part of their training. So if you have a lot of athletes in your class and you want to talk about how there are these athletic programs that now use this, because if an athlete is focused and attentive, they're a better athlete, that can be a really good thing. Katy Perry apparently has a practice. Anderson Cooper did a 60 minutes on this. And there are a lot of companies that are offering these programs, mindfulness programs, to their employees now. They're finding real health benefits to doing that. So, it's not completely just for their employees, it's for themselves as well. Has anyone seen Kung Fu Panda? No, maybe some people. There's just this quote, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it's called the present. And I just think it's interesting that all of this is working itself into just our common culture, into our cultural language, into all of these different aspects of society. So we're interested, that's sort of the global piece, we're interested in our classrooms and specifically ourselves right now. So we're going to shift back to looking at us. And I want us to take a little bit of time journaling on 3 questions. Can I have someone read the Parker Palmer quote, maybe who's up front and has good eyes?
Knowing my students and my subject depends heavily on self-knowledge. When I do not know myself, I cannot know who my students are. I will see them through a glass darkly, in the shadows of my unexamined life. And when I cannot see them clearly, I cannot teach them well.
We're going to take a moment to just examine ourselves. Why are you in education? What qualities do you work to embody as an educator? And what obstacles get in the way of you being as you want to in your role? And we'll take somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on how pens are moving and pencils are moving.